In today's video, we're going to talk about Cursor, the AI code editor that's really making waves in the development community. And don't worry, if you're not a big coder, I'm not going to skip any steps. We're going to start right from the beginning. So on this channel, we've spoken about building SaaS tools with no code. So we're going to do the same here today. But the advantage of Cursor is that we can use the AI tools right within the code editor itself, instead of jumping off to ChatGPT, doing our thing, and then coming back elsewhere. And there's a whole lot of neat features that make things much easier for developing with AI. In today's video, we're going to develop a Space Invaders game from scratch using Cursor AI. Let's jump in. If you're interested in this automation and grabbing hold of the unbelievable opportunity that exists today for AI automators, then I recommend you check out my Skool community, where you can download this blueprint and many more and be up and running in a matter of minutes. It's this simple. Navigate to the blueprint you want to download in the Skool community, go over to make.com and select import blueprint, and you're ready to go. In the Skool community, we also have automation learning materials and access to a full calendar of events, including masterclasses, Q&As, co-working sessions and live streams. When it comes to AI automation, if you want to up your game, then this community is for you. Head over to skool.com/AI-automations to get started. Now back to the video. So once you've installed Cursor and you've been using it a while, when you first open Cursor, this is what it looks like. Not very interesting, but we're going to go through every single step to get started with a new development project. So one of the advantages of Cursor is that it has a terminal built in. So don't worry, we're not going to do much terminal prompting for those that are scared by the prompt. It's just something very basic, and you can just follow along here. So we just create a directory for where we're going to host the code that we're going to create for our Space Invaders game. So you just type in mkdir, that's make directory, and then we're going to go call it Space Invaders here. So make directory Space Invaders. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and click this button here. So open a folder, and then we have our navigate to our Space Invaders folder there. Click open. And now we have a space available on our drive for the Space Invaders game. Now what you can do is you can press Command L, and Command L will bring up our chat window here. So this is where we can chat with AI right within the tool. And actually we can select different models here. So we can select Claude Sonnet, 3.5 Sonnet, GPT-4 and a bunch of other LLMs here. We're going to go with Sonnet because that's probably still the best for coding right now as we speak. And we're going to ask Sonnet to help us start creating this game. And literally you do the same as you would if you were going to Claude directly, but again within the tool. So I'm going to prompt Claude here. Okay, so we're going to start with this, something very simple. Help me create a traditional Space Invaders game using HTML and JavaScript. The game should include a spaceship at the bottom with the invaders above, gradually moving down the screen as the game progresses. I should be able to shoot the invaders with a gun, and the invaders should be able to shoot back. I spelled gradually wrong there, but I think I'll work it out. Let's go. Okay, so what Claude's going to do here within the tool is going to come back and it's going to give us some code. So this is how you would expect it in Claude. But the advantage of using Cursor is that instead of then going to paste and paste it and opening out files and editors, we can just get Cursor to do that for us within the tool. So here we've got the HTML code. So we just click apply. It's created the file for us. It's just generating that code. And it'll give us a chance in a minute to accept that code. So here you go, we can accept that code right there. And so also we've got the game.js here, so I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to create the game.js here. It's generating the file and click accept. So quite a bit of JavaScript code here already, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff that's included actually. So a spaceship that can move left and right using arrow keys, a shooting mechanism spacebar, multiple rows of enemies that move side to side, enemy shooting capability, collision detection, score tracking. So I didn't even ask for that, but it's done that. And game over conditions, which I also didn't ask for, but it's done that too. So we're going to save this and then we're going to open it up and see what we've got. Okay, so here's our Space Invaders game. It's not quite got it right, especially in terms of the wrapping. So the invaders are wrapping around rather than bouncing off the walls like you expect in the Space Invaders game. But we've got our spaceship here. The enemy is shooting at us, and yeah, it's pretty responsive, and in fact it's very responsive. And I can shoot and kill the enemies. They're all squares and blocks at the moment, but of course we can prompt Claude to help us update that as well. Right now that's working. I don't know what happens if I get to the end here. So let's see if he starts a new level or just says game over or does nothing potentially. There you go. So yeah, it's given us 100 points for every time that we shoot the enemy, so that's good, but it's come to the end of the game here and nothing happened. So We can now prompt Claude to like do some more stuff for us. So let's see what happens if I get shot. You get, so game over. So it's got 1 life and it's given us the end of the game. So let's jump back into Claude and we'll prompt it for some more features, and also I'll show you some more features of Cursor. So taking a look back at Cursor about what it implemented here. So it's got a whole bunch of stuff there. It says the enemy, it's game over if it reaches the bottom, which we didn't test. Also, it says you can enhance this version by adding graphics, adding sound effects, different types of enemies, adding power-ups, adding multiple lives for the player, adding different levels, adding a high score system. So we'll just get to some things added up here. But what I'll show you some other features that are available within Cursor. So you're able to directly chat with the code as well. So instead of going over here to the chat window, we can chat in line with different things. So we can say, okay, so let's highlight this bit of code here, go to edit, and then we can ask questions of this bit of code to Claude. So we can say, what does this code do? And I'll go in and there I'll add in the commenting, so you can see each line is added in what each piece of code does. So it gives you an idea. You can actually work out what the code does on every individual line. But also you can ask it to add different features in at this point as well. Okay, so I'm just going to accept this here. So we've got the comments now in that function, which is fine. But you could say, I don't know, for example, in here, come on K, and in here you could say add a feature so that new enemies are created every 30 seconds or something like that. So it wouldn't be very traditional Space Invaders, but you could literally go in and ask inline questions of the code right in place, rather than trying to do it over here. So what we're going to do next is we're going to ask Claude to update some of the features that we want to update. So let's try and fix that wrapping. Okay, so I've said, thanks, works great. The enemies are not quite right at the moment. Currently they wrap around when they hit the side walls of the play area. Instead, as is the case with the traditional Space Invaders game, they should bounce off the walls and bounce back. Please can you add functionality, and so that's the first part. And then number 2, please can you add functionality so the player has 3 lives. And then the third thing that I've asked, so doing 3 things in one go here, so not always advisable, we'll see. And number 3, add a new enemy. A flying saucer should travel across the top of the screen periodically, like in the traditional Space Invaders game. Shooting this enemy gives you more points. Let's just see if we can update the graphics as well. So update the spaceship and invader graphics to look more like the traditional game. Make the flying saucer oval in the shape of a saucer. I was going to say UFO, but let's go flying saucer. So there's 4 things there, so doing a lot in one go. Let's see if this works. So it's generating this revised game.js code here. Okay, so it's just that file is updated. So it's made the changes. It's called it a UFO there, so 300 points for hitting the UFO. 3 lives with a visual indicator. More invader-like graphics, proper enemy movement that bounces off the walls. The UFO will spawn every 5 seconds with a 10% chance each check. Okay, so every 5 seconds it will 1 in 10 times every 5 seconds. Okay, we'll see how that goes. So let's apply that. And you can see, like I said before, you can just go ahead and accept or decline these different changes if you want to. So you can, once you're sort of getting deeper into the code, you can just check that all of these are right. But we're going to assume it's all good, so we're going to accept. And we're going to click save, and then I'm going to run the code again and see what we've got. Okay, so this is the new version of the game. Still not got the enemies wrapping around correctly. So yeah, I'd expected that to have got that right. But we see we've got the flying saucer at the top here. Oh, didn't get that. See what happens. I guess when it shoots, it's just going to disappear. Yeah, and we got the lives down on the bottom left-hand side of the screen there. Did we get more points when we shot these flying saucer? Let's give it a go here. That seems to me it's not like a 10% chance. That seems to me it's coming out every 5 seconds. There should be a 10% chance every time 5 seconds elapses. I think that's what it was trying to say, but it seems to be coming out much more regularly than that. Okay, so that works. We didn't get a new level here, so this might be something that we can look to do in the future. But right now, that's working as mostly as we'd hope. apart from the wrapping of the enemies there. Okay, so I'm determined before we close this off, I want to keep this short and just show some of the features and how you can use AI within Cursor. But I'm determined to get the enemies bouncing off the wall correctly. So we're going to try and do that. Let me just prompt Claude again here. Okay, so I've written, the enemies still do not move from side to side correctly. Please research how enemies should move in the traditional Space Invaders game. For example, when the rightmost invader hits the right side wall, all the invaders bounce back as a unit and do not wrap around. Same for the leftmost invader and the left wall. Please also upgrade the game to have multiple levels, so when you complete the level, you get a faster level on the next screen. Also, on the next level, I'm going to put there, just to confuse it a little bit. Also, completing a level gives you an extra life. The flying saucer seems to be coming across the screen too frequently. Please can you make sure this is at random frequency. So let's put random slower frequency. So I've asked to do a few things at once again, which I wouldn't always recommend, but you know, in the interest of just time and getting this done, let's see if we can do that. Let's go. Get enemies now move as a group. That sounds good. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. So let's go apply. Okay, go ahead and accept these changes. Okay, so now we've got no invaders at all. Oh, we've got the UFO. Got 300 points for that. There's an invader up there. Can we get that? No, that does not seem to be working now at all. Let's try again. Okay, so I'm going to say now we have no invaders moving across the screen at all. I can see one small part of one in the top left of the screen. That is it. UFO seems to be working. Okay, the issue might be with the initial enemy positioning and canvas size. Let's check and fix the enemy creation and positioning. Maybe, I mean, it wasn't moving even up in that top left, so I'm not convinced necessarily, but let's try this. Okay, apply those changes, save. Okay, so now we have the game, and it is working actually. The invaders are moving as they should. However, they're not shooting at us anymore, so that makes it a little bit easier. Okay, but that's working. At least the invaders are moving as we'd hope. There you go. Got to get onto a new level. There you go, and it's faster. Let's see how fast this gets. And luckily, it lets me do a lot of bullets. Let's see how fast the next level is going to be, I guess. Ooh. Okay. Okay, going until I can't cope with it anymore. See how fast it goes. Getting new lives though all the time. Bottom left, which is another thing that we asked for. Okay, it's getting wild. No. Okay, this one is probably going to be the last one, I imagine. Let's start at one end. Maybe you can do it if we get the. Uh-oh. Oh, it's getting nostalgic here. This does remind me of the game. We have to shoot them right close when they're right next to you. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, this is definitely going to be game over. Alright. Getting a lot of lives now. Okay, this is wild. Okay, it didn't give me an extra life though, so that's something that hasn't worked out. So when I get shot, it gives me an extra life, but if it gets to the bottom, it says full game over. I think we got far enough on that to like show that it's working. Obviously we can go ahead and add more features, fix that so that it only loses a life if it gets to the bottom. I think that's how it worked in Space Invaders. I actually can't remember. I think you only lose a life and it maybe starts again. But anyway, that's working. Obviously we can put in a leaderboard and all those kind of things as well. But that just shows working with Cursor. Much more streamlined, much easier. I was able to use terminal within cursor itself, although we didn't use it very much, just to make the directory, but also to use the AI tools within the editor as well. And one thing I didn't show you, which I'll show you now. So something else that cursor does is that it'll try and predict the next line of code that you're going to write, and also it'll move the cursor around depending on what you're doing. So if you're implementing a piece of code where you're writing something at the top but then you need to go down to the bottom, it'll go down to the bottom there and put the cursor there to try and work out this is where you need to add the next bit of code, just to save that little bit of time. But if I give you an example here, if I click this enter here, it will try and predict like what this next piece of code is here. So it's predicted a piece of code here that I might want to apply, and if I do want to apply it, then I just click tab, and again then it suggested some other lines of code based on what we've written before. So okay, we'll take that as well, and it's written that code for you. So it's pretty good in how it can intelligently try to predict what it is that you're going to want to write next. So I think that's it for cursor. I mean, I think there's a couple of things we could do here with Claude. We could say, please make some suggestions on how we could improve Space Invaders game based on the traditional game. So if I do that, it'll come up with some suggestions probably, and we can probably then pick them off like one at a time. So enemy shooting mechanics, enemy variety, there you go. Protective barriers, I forgot about that. Yeah, you have like a protective barrier, don't you, in Space Invaders at the start of the game. Sound effects, scoring system. So yeah, I think it'll probably say at the bottom, yeah, which ones would you like me to implement? So you can say, let's go for number 12. So add gamepad support, that's pretty cool. Add mobile support, touchscreen, add screen scaling options, pretty cool. And I guess the other thing is as well that we could do here is like say reflect on the code we have written and suggest changes to make it better and more maintainable. So there you go, here's a reflection on the code structure and suggestions for improvement, state management, configuration management, event system, separation of concerns. It hasn't mentioned, I mean, as a developer or in my past, I understand what these things mean. Input handling, level management, but it hasn't actually suggested. But you can actually ask, here you go, better code organization. So it's given detail there why that might be useful. Create a dedicated state management system using event. Okay, ready, playing, and pause. So you can pause the game. So there's a whole bunch of features there they suggested just to make this better, well-structured code base. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do here. I mean, I think I've given you a good idea now. I think that's enough for today. We're going to use Cursor in building some projects in the future on this channel. So if you like this content, if you're interested in developing with AI tools, then hit the subscribe button. We also have an AI automations community over on Skool. That's also in the description. So if you'd like to check that out, we're doing all sorts of AI projects in there, and we're really going to start scaling that up over time. It's a brand new community, so get in now while the price is cheap. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that one, and I'll see you in the next video.